Happy Wednesday, you guys. If you were paying attention, I'm late because my puppy was super snuggly and fell asleep and was snoring on me. So I barely had myself together because I got time to wash my hands, didn't even change my clothes, and here we go. So we are going to make royal icing today, and if you are going to be doing any kind of cookies for Christmas, royal icing is the way to go, but it can be a little tricky and people can get scared by it. So I want to show you how to make it. It's very easy. Good afternoon, Tim. Hi, Tim. Okay, so I'm going to show you a very simple recipe for it. I'm going to show you how I store it, how I mix my colors, the different techniques you can use to decorate your cookies with it. I want you to know that I am not a professional sugar cookie decorator by any means. In fact, I don't have a great deal of patience, so it's not my favorite thing to do. I like to keep it really simple. So earlier today, I quickly did up a couple cookies. I'm letting these dry, and then I'm going to put some more decorations on them. Here's those Wisconsin and Minnesota cookies that we made yesterday. And you can't really see, but there are two different techniques going on with these cookies for frosting that I want to show you so that you know some of the tricks, okay? But first I want to show you how to make this recipe. Noala, hi! Dundalk, Ireland. Hi, Noala. Nice to see you. Good afternoon, Tiffany. Okay, so I can't find my extension cord. There we go. So my island right here where I am doesn't have any electric. And so this is an old house, 1880 house. They didn't put electric everywhere. Funny enough, it's not in the middle of the kitchen. Go figure. Anyways, so my mixer's right there. So I'm gonna have to go over and use the mixer over there. Hi, Diana. But here's how this is gonna go. My bowl. I'm gonna grab some eggs. You only need eggs, powdered sugar, and vanilla. That is all you need for royal icing. It's very easy, okay? Hold tight. I'm gonna get large eggs. Now, I already made a batch of this earlier today, and so I made a full batch. I used up most of my powdered sugar, so I'm actually halving my normal batch. So I'm cutting my normal batch in half. The recipe I gave you is a full batch. I'm gonna cut it in half, so don't follow me unless you want half of the recipe. Patsy, do you print your recipe that we can copy off and save? Almost every single recipe that you have is on my site, where you can get it, print it, read it. This recipe is going up soon. This is brand new. I haven't done my royal icing yet for the site, so you guys are the first ones to see it. Okay, so this morning I made a bunch of icing, and there's one more bag. So I made a bunch of icing and colored this earlier so that later today I'm gonna decorate. I needed a whole bunch of icing for all the cookies I'm making. What you can't see is my kitchen is actually a disaster. I would show you, but everything this way, there's like stuff everywhere because I've been doing cookies this morning, so it's a disaster. Noala, hi, Diana, you're also, oh, okay, gotcha, you're talking to Diana. All right, first things up, 3 egg whites. So I'm gonna do mine in separate containers so that I don't accidentally get egg yolk into my, because you guys know me, I'm not particularly great at this piece. So I don't want to do it into my egg white. Because I'm just not good at cracking eggs. I'm messy at it. So I'm just gonna keep them separated out here. You want to use about 1 ounce of egg whites for your recipe. 1 ounce is about 1 large egg. Okay, so about 3 egg whites. Now reminder, I'm cutting mine in half, so I'm only gonna use 1.5 egg whites. So that's why you're seeing me do this. I'm only using 1.5 of it. Okay, and then next, all we need is vanilla. So I'm gonna put in about a teaspoon of vanilla into the egg white. I recommend you use real vanilla and try to get clear vanilla, not your normal vanilla extract. Try to get the clear kind because it keeps your white really white. So whenever possible, get clear vanilla extract and you won't get that coloring from the vanilla. Did you know that? Hi Kenneth, good afternoon. You love my recipes? I am so glad. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pop this on my mixer and I'm gonna mix it just until it's frothy. That's it, okay? So it's gonna get really nice and frothy, kind of like you shampooed your hair, and then we're gonna stop and move on to the next one. But wait a second, you guys, I just realized something. I have to wipe this down because I made this earlier and I forgot to clean it, and then I went and snuggled my puppy and didn't clean it, so hold tight. This is real life, people. This is, oh, I want to show you guys. I made this earlier, I mean like 3 hours ago, and look at how dry it is. That's why royal icing is so popular, because you can decorate these cookies and stack them on top of each other because it dries really hard. But it does take a couple minutes for me to clean, so just wait. Just wait, don't go anywhere. The other thing is that you need to dry all of your dishes really well so that you don't have water, any extra water if you can help it. Diana, oh, you're talking Nuala. Okay, good. Lori, first time watching. Hi, Lori. I'm a little disorganized this morning. What are we talking about? I'm always disorganized. I'm more disorganized than normal because I was snuggling with my puppy right smack up until the time I was supposed to go live. So I didn't have anything ready to go. Normally I at least try a little bit, but I didn't. Okay, so egg whites, mixer. Okay, we're gonna go just until it's frothy, like you're gonna shampoo your hair, okay? Okay, so you guys, I don't know if you can see this, but it's frothy in there. So now we're gonna add our powdered sugar. Reminder, did the dog leave? Aw, he was snoring, you guys. I had to wake him up to come on. He went back to sleep without me. Pandora, hi Pandora. Saki, first time here. Hello, Saki. Okay, so reminder, I'm doing half a batch. So I'm only using 2 cups of powdered sugar. Normally you would use 4 cups for the batch that I would make. And what you're gonna wanna do is put your powdered sugar in a little bit at a time, not all at once, okay? So that it has a chance to really incorporate. We're gonna put a little bit at a time. Right when you put that powdered sugar in there, run the mixer on low, just so you don't go poof. And then as soon as it gets mixed, you can go ahead and turn on high. And that's the secret to not making a giant mess, okay? So I'm gonna do it little by little. Once again, I'm using a wet measuring cup. We discussed this yesterday about my measuring cups. Not a dry measuring cup. Going little by little. sugar is incorporated in there, you guys. I really need to get my mixer over here because it's really obnoxious to have my back to you guys. Okay, now all of the powdered sugar is incorporated into the egg whites. And now what you're gonna do is you're going to mix that for about 6 minutes until it's a stiff peak. And I want you guys to give me a thumbs up or a heart if you know what a stiff peak looks like. And if you do know what a stiff peak looks like, give me a tip that would tell you what that means. So what am I looking for? I wanna make sure you know. So a lot of times people think they know what a stiff peak is and they don't. So tell me how you would test it. And I'm gonna give you a clue. Dairy Queen is a clue for a stiff peak, okay? Hi, Jana. Help me know if I'm supposed to pronounce it Jana or Jana. Hi, Joyce. Hope you're doing well. You guys know stiff peaks? Good. Okay, so what's gonna happen, I'm gonna let this thing run back here for a while because it's 5 minutes, and I'm gonna show you how to decorate some cookies while it's running so that I don't have to have my back to you, okay? Okay, so now that that's running, I'm going to show you some techniques with the icing that I made earlier so that you can kind of see some ways to use this. So the first thing I want to tell you guys about is when you create royal icing, there are two kinds of techniques. There's a few, but two that I think are really good on using royal icing for decorating purposes. Stands up on its own. Yes, yes. So a stiff peak means that when you lift the mixer out of the bowl and the beater comes out, that it pulls and you get a mountain that doesn't curl over. Sometimes you'll get just a little bit of a curl, and that's a medium stiff peak. You want it to sit straight up, kind of like Madonna's cone bra. Wait, was that totally inappropriate? So like Dairy Queen, when Dairy Queen takes their ice cream and they dump it over, kind of the same thing. When you take your beater off and you hold it upright, and I'll show you it, it doesn't move. Everything stays the same. So that's a stiff peak, and that's what we're going for, okay? All right, so earlier today I was making up cookies. I got stars, I've got Christmas trees, I've got ornaments, I've got Minnesota, I've got Wisconsin. So can you guys see these? Okay, good. I'm gonna start with the star. OMG, yeah, right, Madonna. Okay, so what I want to show you is first I'm going to show you two different things. I have in the green, you know what, I'm going to start with the Christmas tree. Green Christmas tree. I have two different thicknesses. This is the royal icing, the way that the recipe is going to come. It's going to be fairly thick. It's going to be like a traditional icing consistency. This is really, really good to use if you want to use what's called a flooding technique for royal icing. So what you would do is you would outline where you want the green to go. So I'm going to go ahead, oh, I forgot so I use Ziploc bags because I'm too cheap to go buy icing bags, and this one got a little bit of a puncture on it, so I have to hold my finger on it so it doesn't explode. Because, you know, I like to make things more difficult for myself. And I want to make sure everyone knows that I am not, there we go. I was going too fast. Don't go, I'm not an expert. I went too fast on that one, but. Okay, so then what this does for you, I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit because I did a bad job on this guy. Is until the royal icing dries, you can kind of move it around a little bit. And it will have this really nice, smooth finish. Now, this edge now means that you can use what's called a flooding technique with your icing. So what I have here is a little bowl of royal icing that I just made, and I'm going to use a very watered down version of the royal icing. So this is the thick one, And then I'm going to use a different consistency that's much thinner, and hold on and see what happens. So what I like to do is I like to make the thick ones first, put them in baggies, and then I'll leave just a little bit left over, and I will use that to thin down so I don't have to sit there and make like a bajillion different kinds. But to be honest, I don't use this technique really anymore. I'll show you the one that I like to use. I find that this one's just a little too putsy for me. And we all know that I do not have the best patience. My patience is not great. Alright. I'm trying to get this thinned out and a good consistency here. So this is just a little bit of that green icing. I'm actually going to put just a little bit more in here because it got a little too wet. So I'm trying to just give it you want this to be kind of like the consistency that your foundation would be, your makeup foundation on your face, that it pours, but it's kind of creamy and thick. That's kind of what you're looking for. Alright, that should do it. Can you guys see this tree here? Icing bags are cheap on Amazon. I know, we've established already how bad I am at getting the things I need to have. The other thing that I sometimes will get is ketchup and mustard containers, like, you know, like the cheap ones at the dollar store. That works well too. Hi Lorna, how is Cyprus? How is Cyprus, Lorna? Alright, so it's nice and thin. Woo! Woo! I almost stuffed it out! That would have been bad. Alright. One thing about decorating cookies too is you have to have a lot of patience. So then here's the flooding technique. You're just going to kind of put this in here, and it's going to flood itself out to the edges that you just lined, and it won't go any further than that because you put that liner in it. So what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of help push it out. Use a toothpick or a spatula to help kind of push it out. I hope it's not too thin, because sometimes if it's too thin, it'll keep on going. And just kind of help it go to the edges, help it smooth out any of these little air bubbles that you got going on in there. And then just set it aside to dry. The only thing I don't like about this technique is that you have to be pretty good on that edge and pretty clean, or that edge is pretty visible. So this isn't my favorite version, because as you can see, I'm not particularly clean on my edges. But this is one of the faster, just with water, Janice. I use the traditional royal icing, and then I use a little bit of water to this one has one side that's a little bit lower, so it's trying to sink. Knackered, you're knackered. That's the best way to be on vacation, Lorna. So Janice, we just use a little bit of water to thin out the icing. So just keeping an eye on that. Okay, so now I'm going to show you my actual favorite technique. So my white, I'm going to use this white icing. I like to use white for almost anything, frankly, because it's, first of all, it's the way that the icing comes and makes it really, really easy to use. And then I can add color on top of it. So it's my favorite. Okay, so what I'm going to do, my favorite thing to do is to go use this consistency is more like mashed potatoes. Actually, it's like thin mashed potatoes. So it's not as thick as your foundation would be, or as thin as your foundation would be, but not too much thinner. So watch, just look. And it's a little bit of a test practice, you guys. So I'm just gonna go like this. It's gonna seep just a bit. And I'm going to go and do little by little. And so this is my preferred technique because I'm not particularly skilled at this. So I'll just kind of go through and I'll kind of give it a little bit of love is I'll just kind of work my way through. I'll pull it down and I'll work it into the center a little bit like this. I hope you guys can see this and kind of fill it in as I go. And this is how I tend to do my cookies because it's the only way that, again, I'm not a professional. It's the only way that I have found to get consistency, as well as not have to make a bajillion different kinds of icing. But I'm sure some of you might have better technique. So if you have better technique, I would love to hear any tips and tricks you guys have. So I'm going to finish up this star, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to do the top as well. So if you've ever used royal icing, I would love to know if which method you prefer to use. Or perhaps there's a whole nother method I haven't even heard of yet. Once made, about how long can it last if it's not used all at once? I think it's about a few days. I put it in the fridge for several days and I've been fine. You can't see the biscuit. Where is it at? Where is it? There. Is that better? Can you guys see it now? The biscuit. You know, it's so funny that there's enough of you guys in the UK that I knew what you meant when you said biscuit. What you meant was cookie. Here in the US, of course, we would call it a cookie, and you guys call it a biscuit. So again, you just thin out your icing to the consistency that you like to work with. To what you feel you can handle as far as how thin it is and what you want. That's about mine. You don't have a lot of patience. Your favorite is to frost them with buttercream and a butter knife. Yep, I know. I only do these once a year and only for Christmas. Those of you that want to store your royal icing, I will do this method. So this is just saran wrap, plastic wrap, and I'll blop it into the center of a big sheet of plastic wrap and then roll it up in a tube, and then I'll put this in the fridge. The best part is that you can insert this straight into your bag and cut the ends and not even have to unwrap it or anything. It'll just come right out. Okay. I'm going to check the consistency on this. We're a long way off on this. That's a long way. Okay, so now I'm going to show you, I have one of these already done that's already, so this hardened. I did this earlier today. They harden really quickly, which allows you to put color on top of them. And so I'm going to take one of these stars that I did. And I made up some blue earlier. And if you've never used Ziploc baggies before, you need to use really good ones, first of all, like a good brand. And then you just snip the end. Always snip the end smaller than you think you need, because you can always make it bigger. And then you just kind of give yourself a twist like it would be a pastry bag. Try to make sure to push out any of that air, because that's where you get your the punctures that I got on the one comes from when you have too much air. And then I always let it come out a little bit onto a piece of parchment paper or something to make sure it's what I want. I gotta see where it is. Make sure you guys can see. Right there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just add this on top. And of course the beautiful thing is that it dries and can be stacked on top of each other. So these make really great gifts because they can be stacked up and wrapped up and all that stuff very, very easily. It's also very, very forgiving because it kind of smooths into itself. So this one is the first another set of color. I'm going to be putting yellow on top of here as well. Here's my green. I'm going to add a few of the blue ornaments that I want to put on here. So there's my blue ornaments. Minnesota. There's a big old lake in northern Minnesota that I'm going to kind of put on here. And I'm going to add the river that goes along the edge. That's not really actually accurate. And then I'm just going to put in a few little lakes, which is not accurate either because there's 10,000 lakes and I don't have time to do 10,000 lakes. So you can just see how, Carlina, you love doing this kind of stuff. I don't particularly love it, but for an afternoon it's a lot of fun. I'm not using the proper bowl. I'm gonna bring you guys with me. I'm not using the proper bowl for my icing because I used my bowl for my sugar cookies. And so my mixer is struggling because I'm trying to use a different bowl. So I'm just gonna bring you guys with me so that I can sit here and hold the mixer and talk to you guys at the same time. Because it doesn't like it very much. So how many of you guys are gonna make Christmas cookies this year? I would love to know what your favorite kinds are. I actually don't really like sugar cookies that much. These are really good, by the way. If you were here yesterday, you saw that I made gluten-free sugar cookies. Super yummy. Okay, let's see where these peaks are now that I finally got around to. Nope, not there. Stiff, it kind of starts to look like marshmallow cream. Oh, you guys, we tore up the floor in our bedroom. I told you we were going to do that yesterday. And we weren't sure what we were going to find. You know what we found? A hardwood oak floor under there. It needs some patching, but hello! I was super excited to see that. I mean, we don't have to spend a fortune on flooring. And have to do that. Snickerdoodles and molasses yum cookie platters for Christmas gifts. So what do you put in your cookie platters? What kind of cookies do you like to put in there? Molasses is one of my favorite cookies. Remember when I made those mincemeat cookies the other day? Not mincemeat, yeah, mincemeat. I put some of those in the freezer so my family could have them for Christmas. Snowball cookies. Is that like Russian tea cakes? The ones that have little bits of nuts and powdered sugar and butter in them? I think there's a few different names for those. I should have just done it over here in the first place and not brought you guys over there. I could not have to have my back to you the whole time. I'm still learning how to do this stuff, you guys. Where can you get the recipe for the gluten-free biscuits? Okay, so yesterday in the Facebook, I did cookies. There's a recipe there. All I do is sub out Bob's Red Mill's baking flour. They have a gluten-free 1-for-1 baking flour is what it's called. And it is a direct substitute. It's good. My husband didn't even realize they were gluten-free. And you guys, if you can make gluten-free sugar cookies and no one knows they're gluten-free, that's something. Jacinta, I'll try to remember to give you the link as soon as I get the recipe up. I'll try to make sure it's there. Almost done, you guys. It needed me to come over here and hold the bowl. Molasses is a lot like what you guys say is treacle. I think it's what you guys say. That's a lot like molasses for us here. So it's like treacle cookies, I think, is what you guys call it. You did your cookies for the challenge with glaze, made with powdered sugar, corn syrup, and water. Do you know if there's much of a difference between that and what you're making? Not really. It's very similar. I think royal icing is just your really old-fashioned way of doing it before they had corn syrup. Carlina, peanut butter blossoms, Russian tea cakes, Reese's peanut butter cookies, white chocolate macadamia nut, butter and sugar cookies, double chocolate chunk cookies. Girlfriend, you are like cooking machine. Has anybody ever had the macadamia nut cookies from that Subway used to make back in the day? My favorite. So I'm at a staff peak right now. So guess what I'm doing this afternoon? Decorating cookies. That's okay. I got to snuggle a puppy this morning. Still, ooh, we're now at soft medium. Do. Oh, do they still have them? Subway? I love those cookies. They're one of my favorites. If you guys have ever gone, you guys need to go to Subway and get their macadamia nut cookies. Really good. Now Subway's gonna have a rush on macadamia nut cookies. So this probably wouldn't take as long for you guys if you were to use a proper bowl, and I didn't use a proper bowl. Oatmeal raisin chocolate cookies. My son's favorite are oatmeal raisin cookies that have chocolate chips in them. One of his favorites. Alright, almost there. So it gets shiny. That's how you know you're getting there, is royal icing is shiny. Ooh. So close! It looks like Dairy Queen with a little curl on top. We don't want the curl. Hi, Althea from Kenner. Nice to see you. We're making royal icing. Almost done. It takes a long time to whip it. But you can just leave it in your mixer and walk away for the most part. Paulette, somewhere you have a recipe for macadamia white chocolate cranberry cookies. Yum. Put a little orange zest in those cookies and oh man, that would be amazing. Can you review the ingredients? Sure, it is powdered sugar, egg white, vanilla. So your recipe will have 3 large egg whites and 1 teaspoon of vanilla that you whip up until it's frothy. So like if you were shampooing your hair. And then you slowly add in 4 cups of powdered sugar until it comes to a stiff peak. And a stiff peak, I'll show you what a stiff peak is when you lift up the mixer from the icing and the icing makes a mountain and doesn't curl over. It takes a lot of patience to wait that long because we all know I don't have patience. And yet I am frosting cookies. Carlina, you'd probably use dried cherries for white chocolate macadamia nut. Yeah, that'd be good. Or dried cranberries. I think they would both be good. I do one pistachio white chocolate cranberry shortbread. That's really good. Oh, hello, Fitzgerald. Did you wake up? My little sleeping buddy woke up. Oh, guys. Ugh. I want to show you what a stiff peak is before we move on. Keep checking it. I should just let it go instead of checking it. Hello, buddy. You can't see him, but he's right between my legs wanting to cuddle. So cute. How many of you guys have dogs? Something special about puppies. One more minute. Okay. Was that 20 seconds maybe? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. All right. Reminder: if you use clear vanilla, you'll have really nice white icing instead of a little bit of a brown tinge to it. So if you can get clear vanilla. Fur babies are good. Although Fitzgerald has to have surgery next week. Like proper surgery. He'll be super cuddly though, so hey. Alright. Fingers crossed that we are good enough because still got just a bit of a curl on it. So when you make a small batch like I'm making, it actually is a little bit harder because it takes longer for it to mix. Larger batches are actually a lot easier to do. You have 6 Jack Russells? Holy cow! Those things are active too, if I remember correctly. Clear vanilla, yeah! Clear vanilla, and that helps a lot with like wedding cakes. Not like anyone's gonna make a wedding cake, but if you wanted to make a wedding cake and you use clear vanilla, you would not get a tinge to your cake. It would be nice and white. All right. Good enough. All right. Good enough. I'm going to show you guys what this looks like. So imagine we're Dairy Queen. See that? See how it doesn't move? That, my friend, is a stiff peak. Madonna bra. So that is what you call a stiff peak. All right, so let's go back. They use royal icing to put together the gingerbread houses. Yes, which is why I'm making so much royal icing, because I'm storing my royal icing away for later when I put together my gingerbread house. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys how I'm gonna store this, how you would dye it. Prince, hi Prince. You would buy something for the cookies. Good excuse. Paul, is clear vanilla artificial vanilla? Yes, it usually is artificial. They do, I believe that you can do like a vanilla powder, which does not have the same kind of coloring. But yes, it's usually artificial. And you only use it for like royal icing, which is already powdered sugar, or for like if you really need to use that clear color. I wouldn't recommend it any other time because it's not the same as real vanilla. Okay, I'm gonna get my hair out of the way just in case. You guys seen these little doohickeys? I'm gonna show you 2 different ways you can store this. First of all, you can store it flat out without dyeing it first if you want to. Then you'd have to take it out to dye it. Now, because I'm doing a whole bunch of stars, I'm gonna first take some of this white out immediately because I'm not gonna dye it, okay? I'm gonna use a baggie for the white because I'm gonna just use a baggie straight up. So I'm just gonna put mine into a baggie. Almond extract I think is already clear. I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. Okay, when you use royal icing, you want to store it right away. You don't want it to have too much air or it will dry out really quickly. So we want to get it into some storage almost immediately. Reminder, this is only a half batch of the recipe that I gave you guys. The recipe I normally use is going to be a full batch. Hi, Jeffrey. So I'm going to put it into a baggie. I'm going to kind of squeeze it down just a bit down into that corner so it's like pretty much ready to go. Make sure there's no air in there. And I'll close it. And this will go in the fridge. I'll give myself probably a good 5 days before I have to use it. Almond extract is clear. Yeah, Paul's a chef. He says almond extract is clear. It's clear. I thought it was, but I couldn't remember. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys how to color this stuff. I'm going to set this aside. All right, so all you're going to need is some small bowls. I'm using the bowls I used earlier. Probably should get clean ones, but okay, you're going to use some small bowls. You know what? I'm going to get a clean one so you guys can see better. And you guys can see what I dyed and what I didn't dye. All right. Here's where you want to really decide what kind of technique you want. If you decide you want to do a whole bunch of little detailed kind of cookies, you may want to have a thick consistency as well as that flooded consistency. So, okay, for example, these cookies, I'm putting the color on top of color on top of color. What you could do is you could edge out little spots, flood it, and make it all one level. I hope that makes sense. Let me see. Let me get your cookie, and I'll show you what I mean by that. All right, what I mean by that is, so let's say I want to do the lower half of this state one color, and I want to do inside that one color, and then I want to do the top half a different color. You could line it like that. And then this little line right there you could fill this with one color and fill this with one color. Does that make sense? And so some people like to do all one color because it looks more intricate. So you might see like some Christmas sweaters and things like that where they're doing layer after layer after layer and they'll flood them differently. Or you can build your color on top of each other like this. Or if it's thick enough, you could even go so far as to, if your consistency is thick enough, just like regular icing, as to kind of flood individually and make little, build them on top, build them next to each other. Let me show you. So I'm going to put these in. You just have to remember that royal icing dries pretty quickly, and so you need to move relatively quickly to get it all in there. So then we're just going to move as quickly as we can to get this spread out. and all in one level. So there's a couple different techniques there you could try. You also want to try to, what I just did that I needed to be more careful with, is try to use the same tool for the same color so you don't have any blending of your colors. I always forget that part, and then I remember it after I've done it. I'm always like, oh yeah, that's right. So you could sit there and blend these together like that, create like layers. It's just all about what you like to do. Does it dry quickly when you do the icing? Yes. The icing dries fairly quickly, and it depends on how thick you want to do it, but this icing will dry within, I mean, you want to get it flooded within about a couple minutes, frankly. So you got a good 10 minutes and they'll dry, and you can put another layer on top. Okay, so coloring. I'm going to show you the consistency you kind of want. So this is really thick. This is like marshmallow cream. That's how thick it is. Okay, so I'm going to decide the color. I need more, I'm going to go with green. No, we'll just go with red. I use gel food coloring because it's easier to control. It has a brighter color to it. And so I'm going to add just a good drop of it. And then I'm going to give it a good stir. So you can see how thick this is. This is not going to be easy to ice. And you just have to decide if you're going to flood your cookies or if you're going to treat it more like it would, as if it were a buttercream, okay? Now I like mine to be kind of in between. I want it to seep just a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a couple drops of water. I have friends that swear by adding vodka to the icing instead of water. I've never tried it, but one of these days I need to try it. I'm not sure why that works, but they swear by it. So I like my consistency to just ooze off that spoon. That's what I like. And again, you got to kind of play with it and get your consistency, what you like, and the color that you like. So this is a little too pinky for me, so I need to add a little bit more red to it. There we go. See how that's just kind of oozing a little bit? That's the consistency that I like. So you just decide what you like, play with it a little bit. But it's so easy to make and so inexpensive that you can make multiple batches and just keep getting it the way you like it. All right, then let me show you how I'm going to store it real quick in those. There you go. Carolina thins it out and gives it a kick. Is that the reason? Is it thins it out and adds a little flavor to it? That could be, yeah. All right, so I'm going to store it in plastic wrap. Can never get this plastic wrap off of its thing. You need a good sheet, okay? You need a good long sheet. And then you're going to pull it out. Oh man, I just messed up one of those cookies. Oh man, I just messed up one of the cookies. And then you're just gonna take this, put it right here in the center of the plastic wrap, kind of like a little row of beautiful colored, I don't know, whatever this is. If you want to use a spatula to get the whole thing out. All right, and then you're going to take and kind of fold it over, and then fold it over, fold it over, fold it over. Twist those ends. Twist those ends. And there you go. You can store these in your fridge. And then, like I said, when you go to use them in your icing bag or in this kind of a bag, you can cut off the tip and then insert it straight away into your bag like that. And it will just come right out real nice and clean, and you don't have to mess around with putting it in. I only do this when I'm using it right away. Otherwise, I will do this method. So you can see I made this one earlier. It'll stay about 5, I would say use it within 5 days, but I know my friends, they swear that you can keep it for weeks. I just never have. It's got egg whites in it, so I'm not really sure. If you make it with meringue powder, because you can make a royal icing with meringue powder, I would think that can last a lot longer than this one would. But this one uses egg white, so I would say 5 days, and then use it up. But I don't know if that's true because you can put it on cookies and the cookies can be frozen. So I wonder, I need to do some research on that. If anyone knows the answer to that, because the cookies you make can be frozen and then unthawed. So then in theory, this stuff should be able to be frozen and thawed as well. Carlina, do you have any thoughts on that? Anyways, we need to get some information on that. I'm going to make sure to research that, put it in the post when I get this recipe written up and the recipe for the cookies written up, which is coming soon. Those of you who are in the cookie challenge, royal icing, this stuff is fantastic for your gingerbread houses. It's really, really, really good little bit of glue. It works great for all of your decorations. It's going to be fantastic. Carlene, you said about a week? Yeah, it's what I'm thinking too, but anyways, if you're going to do the gingerbread house, that's why I'm making all of this, is because I'm about to get ready to go to do my gingerbread house pretty soon here. Use royal icing. It's really fantastic stuff. Okay? All right, anybody have any questions about this? I need to get the rest of this stored so that I can use it, and I have a whole crap load of cookies to do. Puppy to snuggle. All the things. And a room to go check out that now has wooden floors on it and not nasty carpet. All right, you guys, we'll see you. If you're freezing them a couple of weeks, the cookies. Yeah, I'll do some research and double check that, and we'll make sure of that before and then I'll put it in the post. But other than that, I will see you guys maybe tomorrow. I think we have another one tomorrow. Otherwise, and then tomorrow I'm going to be a little bit more careful that I don't have my back to you and don't have so much dead space, because that's not fun at all. So apologize for that. I'm still learning how to do these. Still learning. We're getting better though. Okay, bye you guys. Thanks for coming along.